Here we are 1 year later in New Orleans, looking back over what was a tremendous year for so many people that were displaced by the hurricane. There were so many residents, so many people that lost their homes and all their belongings, but so many people know New Orleans for being a college town, a university town. So many great schools are here, and a lot of students had to leave, putting their educations on hold. We have an opportunity now to catch up with one of those students. Her name is Rosa White, originally from Delaware, but came for schooling in New Orleans at University of New Orleans.
That is correct.
Give us an explanation, though. What happened to you when the hurricane was coming in and you were evacuated?
Yes.
And it was right at the beginning of fall semester.
Right after the first week of classes, I got a phone call from my track coach telling us that there was a hurricane in the Gulf and that UNO was going to shut down. So a couple of friends of mine, we all hopped up in one car, packed up 3 days worth of clothes, thought it was going to be a good time, and headed towards Atlanta. And then we watched the levees break on TV and were kind of lost from then.
What happened, though, with your education? Because you didn't know what you were supposed to do, whether you were supposed to come back, where all your stuff was for that matter, but more importantly, how you were supposed to go on with classes.
Right. Well, we were all pretty much lost within the first 3 days. There was absolutely no contact between students and schools. We couldn't get online. Nobody had phone calls. The phones weren't working. So what happened is that we got phone calls from our fellow classmates who were in Baton Rouge, and we found out through word of mouth that the Louisiana Institutes were going to open up their doors and allow students to enroll. So we ended up driving back to LSU and enrolling after they extended registration for a week.
And give us an idea, though. All of your friends had to go through this, so most of you had, and you were entering your senior year.
Yes, yes.
And so that's a big deal.
It was. It really was. Most of us were kind of lost. A lot of people decided not to return to school because they wanted to wait and see what was going to happen, and they didn't want to be charged. So a lot of us ended up at LSU, about 3,000 students from Tulane, Loyola, and University of New Orleans, and Dillard cross-enrolled in some of our other classes and just hoped that our universities would open up for us and see what would happen.
And now when you came back, you had some journalistic instincts that kicked in. We have to point that out to everybody. But you started a documentary and came back. And what was that like for you? I mean, it's one thing to tell somebody else's story, but it's another thing to document your own.
My own story. Well, I purchased a camera after the first week, and I snuck back into the city on September 19th and visited my school, and it was devastating. It looked like a war had just went off. There was nobody in the streets. I visited my apartment. My apartment had completely flooded. I lost everything but the dirty laundry that I brought with me to Atlanta.
And we're looking at some of that video now. This is you going back to your dorm room, your apartment?
My apartment in the 9th Ward, New Orleans East.
And you can just see everything pretty much lost.
Devastating.
Give us an idea when you had to go back to school. You registered online.
Yes.
For LSU?
At UNO. I actually cross-enrolled because UNO was the only institute to actually stay open during the fall semester with online classes. So I cross-enrolled at UNO with their online classes and kept my classes at LSU in order for me to graduate in December as opposed to spring, since I wasn't sure what was going to happen with the school and if we'd even be able to come back.
So you got out early.
So I got out early.
And what about a lot of your friends? Are they in a boat like you where they got out early, or are they stuck behind?
I actually was the only one that was managed to get out early because I only had 21 credit hours. But my friends had to come back to UNO, and when they came back, they were promised FEMA trailers that were supposed to be set up like a park for them to stay in. But when they got there, they weren't ready to set up. Matter of fact, most of them had to commute every day from Baton Rouge to go to classes, or Slidell, or stay with friends who managed to actually find apartments in the Metairie area.
Well, a lot of people out there that have graduated from university and college and know the trials and tribulations that go into that can empathize with you. And congratulations to you for getting it done and having to do so under extreme circumstances. Rosa White, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Kathleen, that's just one of the many stories that so many different thousands of college, university students here in the New Orleans area had to go through, where they had to change courses, go to different schools to try and move on with their college education. Rosa here is probably different from the rest of the breed because she graduated early, so it actually encouraged her to get out sooner.
All right, Thomas, thanks for that.